session, our next panel, lessons learned from the pandemic from an interior designer's perspective. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The subject today which I have been given to discuss, I'm better now. I can see at least everybody's face. Pandemic, I think so. Wondering what are we talking about? But I think so. Everybody should not forget the memories what we had. There were some fun moments and there were some sad moments. So everybody has gone through those. When the first lockdown came in, I think so most of us were very happy. Time pass hoega. We will all be celebrating family time. But then within 10 days we realized that everything is we are going to face a lot of challenges. And we found out one wonderful way of keeping ourselves busy. Virtual conferences and virtual. I think so within 2 months we all were sick and tired. Everybody wanted to do virtual conferences. And I remember in one of the conferences, I think so, Ritu was also there, Rajat, my friend, was there, and Ritu was also there. And while the conference was going on, Rajat got an SMS because one of his clients was watching that virtual conference. And Rajat got a message and he read out that message. That all of us were discussing the changes which hospitality design will undergo during pandemic. And he got a message that what changes the travel industry is going to go through before we make changes in hospitality. And it was a very, very important and a relevant question which somebody raised, that is travel industry going to go through those changes, design changes, before the hospitality industry can go into it. Because ultimately you are going to reach to any destination through any mode of travel except your cars. There are buses, trains, airlines. And are we going to make any changes and do those social distancing and other things into it? So I felt at that point of time how important that implication of design implication are going to be there in terms of our hospitality design. How much changes we will have to implement for this pandemic situation. So let me ask you one very relevant question and very, very important. And it's a little personal. During pandemic, on a positive note, what did you get most? Wealth, health, or none? No, I'm not asking you guys there. Let them answer.
Actually none, because I ended up completely repeating my entire wine collection. There was no more left.
What about you?
There was no chill to go to.
What I gained was, one positive for me, I would say, was that I got time to reflect. So, earlier we were on a highway in an accelerated pace, and suddenly there was like a barrier that came down, and you were like, okay, there's a jolt. And you sort of stay put and you breathe for a couple of seconds. You get time to reflect, and your life passes by. So by design now, life passes by. I was like, why are you always just doing the same thing? It's time to sit down and reflect, and that's what I did. And that's probably the positive for me. Besides that, of course, there were various challenges, and I agree with Bobby. It was difficult to even exercise back then.
That's all right. So you got your inner perspective.
And I got some time to think, which I generally don't, because things are moving so fast. You're pretty much caught up in the rut of doing your projects. So you are involved in the creative process. But besides your creative process, there's so much more that goes on in your projects. Which we generally don't talk about. For example, the biggest challenge for me was, how do I get my team to work again together?
So let me come back to you, because those are the challenges which most of us face. But I just wanted to understand on a lighter note, what all you gained? Let's talk about positive. What loss is done is lost. What we have lost is time also.
Learnings, lots of learnings. Technological learnings, of course, for that's for everyone. But also, I think a better understanding of human mind, human behavior, human preferences. Because not just us, even what a time to reflect people working with us, people whom we are working for. And also, I started thinking about how can we actually, what would be now necessary to bring people back to office, back to work, and also as an extension of that, back into travel. So, to the office it was quite immediate and urgent, which we had to act upon. I think very soon we'll have to also start thinking about, I'm sure most of us already are, how to make our travel, business travel, holiday travel more exciting, more attractive. There will definitely be a shift, and we can already see it. People are now opting for different lifestyle experiences for travel.
So, I just want to know in very simple couple of lines that what did you gain? Health, wealth, or money?
Actually, just because of this learning, I was very happy about realizing it.
Okay.
That satisfaction was there.
Okay.
None of those three.
I will not agree with you. Rita, what about you?
I totally agree. Also, I gained more peace. I found the vibe of peace.
Ritu, what about you?
Coordinate, but it was peaceful. After the initial stress, I think.
We can't hear. Find the mic. No.
Can you hear me now? After the initial stress, I think
Yeah.
after the initial stress, I think gained in health because my yoga came online, and that was the best thing that's happened to me ever. So regular fitness, both mentally and physically, and I think learn a little more technology and how to handle social media. And I think probably one of the best things was, while it was the worst time in the second wave, but the best thing was how my team came together and we all supported each other. And I think that was amazing because, we just the fact that everyone was there to make sure that the ship keeps sailing, the show must go on. There were very few people working at that time, but all of us were just there for each other and for our clients and projects. And I think that on a personal level, that was very touching.
Probably everybody has hidden one important fact. Everybody gain on wealth. And I think so most of our serious hospitality designer had enough work which showed that we all, whosoever was a serious player in hospitality was trying to use that time in order to design, in order to give a better retrospect, to create something which was better and great. And I think so this is something where we have all gained. It might be wealth in terms of knowledge, wealth in terms of literal materialistic wealth, or whether it may be that is a kind of wealth which we all have collected, and we are positively blessed that we are all sitting here and discussing this. I have one question to ask to every one of you, is that during our initial conferences what we were talking about is that hospitality design is undergo several changes. We are talking about material not being used. This is what the life of the virus is so many number of days, so many number of weeks, and we should not use leather, and we should not use steel, and we should not use mirrors and glass, and so on and so on. What do you think did we apply to our designs that this materialistic change or design changes were implemented in your designs?
Well, right now, these ideas are still moving forward. Because these ideas are also forced on us as a brand. Because they are like housekeeping, introduce tech services. But in the long run, then I operate a lot of Dubai as well. And I saw in Dubai that they basically fear nothing. Everything is open, the whole world lands up there, there are talking parties going on, rose clubs, everything was normal. And the hotels were doing amazingly well, because they were open, so the rest of the world lined up there. Of course, the outdoor spaces did better. The big thing that I saw more than material stuff is the fact that even though Dubai now warming up, the tourism is still not increased. And especially hotels, especially the resorts that have more garden spaces, more balconies, semi-outdoor spaces, restaurants which are in and out, those ones are completely sold out. And the people are fearless. So there is an element of risk. A small percentage will probably get it and will probably die. But in the grand scheme of things, that percentage is very small. We heard of number of deaths in India. WHO thinks it's 4 million. 4 million out of 1.3 billion people. It's a small number. So I think people are now willing to risk it all and go back to normal, the cool lifestyles that was there earlier. That was scary. So as this thing wanes off, all the fears of doing all this will all be thrown out. That's my.
What is your take on this, Ritu?
So I remember that discussion on the panel where they said that if the airlines are not going to change anything, it might be right. And there isn't anything different in terms of brand standards at this, except on technology. So one of the things which project that we were doing midway and it is continuing was to put in, we don't even have the exact details, but it's like to put in a plug point so that in future the hotel can install a face recognition instrument. So it's something which is in development, but as they didn't have it and this hotel is going to hopefully open at the end of this year, so we just have to put in the plug point behind the reception counter. So we're seeing more technology based and of course sensor-based sanitary fixtures that came up immediately and gained more importance. Earlier days, it was a luxury to put sensor-based fixtures. Now it's like you've seen hotels have already started changing, so we're seeing more of that. In terms of spaces, one of our clients who had a very popular brand pub in Kolkata, and we were actually supposed to start renovating it in 2020, called us back December 21 and is converting it into a party hall / banquet hall. So what we're seeing is that party spaces, banquet halls are gaining more importance. And the fact that he had an iconic brand pub, which we were thinking, should we bring a brand in, like socials, should be created into a new restaurant. So we were only thinking F&B before the pandemic, and now it's completely changed. It's a meeting / party banquet, which means he was actually using it even during the pandemic days as a party space. And he's so busy that we can't even shut it to renovate it. So next week, my team is finally going down and we're saying, please shut it so we can actually go ahead with execution. So that's another thing we're seeing. And alfresco, I think you mentioned a lot of outdoors. So yes, alfresco is getting a lot of importance. But overall, it's not a drastic planning change in terms of spaces or in terms of standards. And I think in terms of spaces, more important is multi-use of spaces so that you don't have any dead spaces.
What about you, Rita?
They're all tired of COVID. I feel nobody's wearing any mask. I see only 2 people here wearing masks, although the wave is just hitting again. Somehow we're all tired of it, but it's going to stay. So I think it's really important that when we enter a hotel from checking to the room that we are really entering touchless. Of course, also checking if room should be all touchless. Then another important thing I think is really cleaning the air, not only virus but also pollution and virus both in the room, in public areas. And then of course I would like that also in the earlier panel was discussed to be able to open the room or have a balcony or at least open some glass windows to get some fresh air and be more connected to nature also.
Right. What about you? What's your thought on that?
As a direct response to the virus, I think whatever measures we might do at the moment or coming up year or so, I think it's a temporary phase. I think it will wear off very, very quickly. I think many people haven't even bothered to really give it much attention. And I really don't think it will stay for long. I do believe as an indirect response to whatever the realization out of this pandemic, the lockdowns have happened with people, there will be a response in terms of design, perhaps that's a very, but not as a direct response to infection. If we are in hotels, no matter what we do, we're all eating together, dining together. Right now also, people have even had lunch together, very close proximity. So,
What's your take on that, Vandana?
I have a slightly different take, and I agree with each one of them. But what I've seen as a shift in travel has been that people are seeking more experiential travel. They wanted to go to destinations. What was lacking in destination-based travel was the presence of a brand. So a lot of branded,
Vandana, let me interrupt you at this point. But what my point is that do you think that there were any practical changes in terms of design and design implementation? As far as
I'm just coming to that. So a lot of changes that happen in your design are actually based on the kind of experience you're trying to create. Nothing happens in isolation. I don't want to just talk about the bed runner going away or two cushions on the bed going away. I mean, yes, that did happen. Those are the two things that I've seen happen or being actioned. But in terms of real changes that are talking about, say, how the architecture is going to affect the interior or the interior is going to affect my experience, that is what really matters to me as a traveler, because he doesn't really care about one little element over there. He might not even notice it. So when I would go and stay at a homestay, I'd love the experience, but I'd be bothered by the sanitation levels there or the housekeeping levels there. So what's truly happened as a shift or a change is that there is branded measure today, of course, and all these thoughts were born in the pandemic. People started thinking about these in a proper, in a business, from a business perspective. So this is a positive change, and then it starts filtering down to what a designer would do to influence the experience. So the changes could be at a micro level or at a macro level. I believe change happens more first in thought and then filters down to the little details that we design later on. But yes, coming to your micro point, I have seen certain changes, but I've seen more talk, less action. When it comes to the projects we are working on or we discuss. From a perspective of what you will in the future, but I see that branded leisure is here to stay, and there will be a lot of takers for it. That is my takeaway.
Absolutely, I have no disagreement that the leisure in whole as a segment is going to be here to stay post-pandemic, and this is something which is flourishing. But tell me, when Ritu, you talk about technology being introduced, do you think that technology being introduced in a retrofit, for example, a property like this, is it so convenient and easy for that sake, for that particular moment? We all started talking about engineering technology, and is it visible? As a designer also, is it visible or it is not visible?
Depends what you're changing. If you're going to change the sanitary fixtures, of course, it's not feasible to do it in a small retrofit way. But if you're looking at, like I think earlier there was a presentation on Wi-Fi based and router and how everything's connected through one system. So I don't know about the actual technicalities yet of how it's done, but if it involves a router system and it can be done without pulling out wires, then yes, one should go for it. And I think as a designer, what I would like to know is that, what are the dimensions so that it doesn't become an eyesore to the guests. Like we all know when the set-top box came in, it's still an eyesore and it's the thing which is there in front of your TV, and no matter how beautiful the room is, you have to have that set-top box and the 2 remote controls by the bed, and I'm hoping one day that all goes away as well. So I think it's, there's one word I don't like, which is refurbishment, and we are getting a lot of inquiries for refurbishment. I think it should be renovation, plain and simple. I know there might be some brand people and owners who I might have to appease after this, but when you get into it, you have to look at it in totality. What are you actually changing, and how can we do it so it actually makes a difference to the end user? If it's not an old hotel and yes, I just have to change some colors in the fabric and curtains, that's fine. But if it is something which is helping the guest in the longer run, like you said, in technology, in hotels which were built maybe even as early as 10 years back, sometimes don't have the latest technology like your USB ports and your universal clouds, because technology has changed so fast in the last few years. Now we put it by the bedside, you have your USB ports, you can plug it in the bedside, and going forward, maybe you don't even need it with Wi-Fi advancing the way it is. So yes, if it means going that little extra mile to really upgrade and update it for the guest convenience,
but
I think
is this because pandemic was here that you would like to incorporate this technology? It is by virtue of progression of technology. I think so we are progressing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I will tell you one thing more which you just mentioned. Refurbishment is a term which is used by owners and the brands so that they can pay designers and architects little lesser fees.
You said it.
But then I'm taking cue from you. See, I do absolutely agree. Experiential and leisure travels are going to be there. So what kind of, I would like to ask each of you that as a designer, what is that something which you would like to incorporate in your designs which create far more better experiences for the next leisure project which we all or anybody is planning for it? What is that you would like to incorporate and which is missing today?
For me, I feel that there isn't enough respect for the architecture of the building, or interior designers and architects don't work together enough. They tend to work in silos, which leads to a lot of waste in the overall scheme of things. So what I hope for is early integration, and I'm looking at Mr. Sharma and saying this, and he's great at it. But I hope for it because I think I'm an equally passionate architect as I'm an interior designer, and I happen to be sitting on an interior design panel. And the second thing, more respect for nature. Truly trying to be truly sustainable, not just to get a LEED certificate. So these are things that I'm passionate about, and I hope that all of us can be a little more conscious in what we design. We at a practice level are trying to take some solid steps towards this. We're working towards research and materials where we can truly recommend the right product to our clients. So these are things that we are working on at practice level, and I also believe a lot more inside-outside connection, a lot more respect for nature, giving as much importance to your outdoor spaces as you do to your indoor spaces. Creating the right microclimates.
So what if you given an opportunity and you want to add an experience which is not available? So what would you like to add?
I don't think it should be restricted to just audio nature travel. And if we maybe can, is there some practical of going away with over sanitization? We'll all be home. That's one thing which has been really, I think people going forward will just not accept. If we wake up now, it will be better. For a few years down the line, definitely we'll have to do something where all travel hotel will have to offer some better experience, more unique experience rather.
Absolutely.
So instead of doing this good, better, best, it will have to be in those couple of days, few days, what different lifestyle can we just make them experience. Right? It's not that the people who are only, I don't think there are any particular loyalties as people who travel away to this hotel or to luxury hotels. They're happy experiencing different things in different locations. And that can happen even in business travel. It's not restricted to.
Why not? Why not?
So that's something I'm hopeful that it happens, and I think being flexible with standards is something that is a starting point. Start from there.
So let me come back to Bobby. Bobby, I believe standard is something which you and the brand standards are something which goes into opposite direction. You always need, as a friend also, whenever we discuss it, we find that there is so much of restrictivity in terms of creating good things with those brand standards.
This is precisely what was playing on my mind while this discussion.
Yeah. So what is your take on it?
I think it's time, you go to a hill station, usually you go to Dehradun, you go to some Southern Indian hill station, some stuff coming up to Arunachal Pradesh, really nice exotic places. But somewhere down the line, all these hotels look similar. Just by putting a few art elements here and there, or some fabric design, or some motif here and there is not enough. The true experience, of a location, of the materials available in that place, the culture of that place, the local architecture of the place, the way, traditionally things are made there. I think all that should reflect in, irrespective. For a Bombayite who has to go to somewhere in Sikkim, there's some nice places over there coming up now. But when you go to the hotels, it could be any hill station anywhere. It could be in Chiang Mai, it could be in the middle of Sri Lanka, in a very place there, it could be in Khandala. There's something seriously missing in there. The way these Aman properties would do, like in Nepal, in Kathmandu, one of the best hotels I like is a hotel called Dwarika. It's most premium. It's got only 30, 40 rooms. But when you stay there, you get the true feel of real Nepalese culture, architecture, the interior experience. Big brands will never ever agree to this. They will never allow it to happen. Because they are so overtaken by the practicality, the functional aspects that, and the brand standard books, that all that goes for a toss. And there's enough of refined, mature, cultured travelers now who are looking for this experience, and it's getting more and more better. So those big brands, when they try and open up in these locations, there's a high chance in the future they'll be failures.
So I have a little, I'm partly agreeing to you, but partly disagreeing to you, because these big brands have realized that there are so much of opportunity, and that is the reason there is a vertical which is coming as experiential boutique hotels which are coming up.
But that's still, it's only those boutique hotels. Why can't a big city hotel in Delhi, show the real Delhi culture? Or you give creative freedom to the architect, like how it used to be during the Ian Schrager days, when Philip Stark did all this crazy stuff, and people splurge money going into the hotels for the experience. It was 2 nights of staying somewhere. You don't want to come back to the same drab homeland experience. It's a surreal environment. You're going through a dream experience for those 2 days. Why not?
So coming back to
he's going to come back all this, by the way.
So this is something which we will debate on it a little later, but I feel that coming back to our subject, are there any major concept changes which has happened apart from traveling for leisure hotels and other things in as a principally in the designer as a designer, are there any concept changes which have happened due to this last lockdown experiences and how it has been incorporated? Anything?
I see it happening. The end traveler now. What is going to drive this is the fact that the market has seen which places are doing good business.
Right.
Something has happened within us that is more drawn towards certain kind of product.
Right.
So what I see happening around the world is that things that look more natural need not be that leather, glossy, slick, Italian marble. No, people are spending more in more rustic, natural looking, more greens, more earthy textured surfaces. Need not be those polyester materials, but they're okay to deal with muslin, cloth, or khadi. It requires not really good for housekeeping, but what the hell? You figured out. But people are getting attracted to more of all that. Bringing in nature into the interiors and the architecture. It is highly appreciated. I don't know how healthy it is, but psychologically, people are getting more drawn towards it.
So I will redefine that the future of the luxury is going to be more personalized, more with a human touch, more of natural fibers is going to be more of a luxury defined than being very synthetic, too much of glitter and all those things, especially in
Asia.
Asia.
The days of the object, they had, where new trends come up every year.
Right.
So it was a much smaller experience, a much smaller expo this year, and I could see that all the guys there were experimenting with straw, hay, sisal, jutes, like plant-based fibers and textures, and making light fixtures, pieces of furniture, that slick stainless steel, gloss finished furniture with those Italian new age kind of stuff was not really happening. They were all trying to move towards that. So that's the cue.
So I want all of you to answer one very particular experience with tell our audience an experience, because everybody was I believe had the office on during pandemic. We were all trying to work online. So we did at least one or two projects which were completed during pandemic. So what were the challenges which you faced as a designer when you were doing this? Let me start from Mandana.
My biggest challenge then was not being able to go to the site. That was a true challenge. And then having to see reviewing a lot of work on your phone or other devices. So you do tend to miss out detail. However much we might credit technology, there's nothing like being there in person and being able to review something in person. So that was our biggest challenge. Besides that, of course, you miss being together and sitting together with your team and brainstorming. It's obviously not the same way you do that through other mediums. Besides that, work-wise, we were quite okay. We figured our way around with the help of technology.
What about you, Jessica?
It's quite bothersome. IT became a few hours a day was again IT. That's not something else anyone would have been happy with. It became much more laborious because for anything which had to be communicated, it took much longer that way. So just pace of work became more tedious to get work done because communication wasn't as easy. That's pretty much the difficult part.
Rita, what about you?
We did a lot of concept designs in pandemic and it's more difficult to coordinate, spend hours on Zoom, but we managed. It work. I mean, now we know we can work from everywhere, which is a good knowledge to have, and we should also use it more. I think it's was good. It's also good thoughts.
So I agree the initial challenge of how to manage over with the technology and over emails on, because when in the first lockdown we were actually at a stage where most of our projects were at drawing stage, GFC stage. So coordinating between teams, sending things back and forth. While at that time was a challenge, but it actually became our biggest boon, I think, because we never had, I'm sure most of us never had a concept of work from home. If anyone would even ask, because we're not like the IT companies where it's easy to do. So earlier if anyone asked, you'd say, just take leave and all that. But it's become the biggest boon because now we can have a hybrid situation if the need arises. And one challenge we faced was the client had already given the contract for the loose furniture to a Malaysian company. So we were actually reviewing the mock-up pieces over video calls. So you had the manufacturer roaming around with his camera phone and all of us looking at it through our screen. And initially it seemed like it was working very well till we went through 3 sessions, and now that everything's open, in the end the designers flown down to Malaysia to check the mock-up, just so that we all have our peace of mind. So I think some things just have to be done in reality. I mean, we knew that it didn't put a full stop to things. There was a way to work around it. A lot of side things have got done over phones and emails. So I think that challenge became a blessing in a way. But yes, there's nothing like seeing it in front of you at a side or whatever.
Bobby, what about you? What do you think about it?
No, various different things happened. One amazing thing was Shruti is here. She left. Okay, so Shruti and I were to do a whole meeting with various other consultants for their project in Bangalore. Normally, the client would have spent like 10 lakhs on that meeting for having us flown down from different cities. Someone was to come from Delhi, from Gurgaon, I'm a team from Bombay, there were 2 from Kuala Lumpur, 1 from Hong Kong. Clients were from Bangalore and someone from Dubai. We would have flown down, all of them flying business class, put up in a nice, good hotel. So I could see like 10 lakhs of expense around 2 days of travel and meetings and stuff. Through the Zoom conference or the other one's team or something. I was surprised how we were able to do the conference and efficiently do it. Put up our drawings, our sketches, taking screenshots, and all this was there earlier too, but no one really used it. And suddenly we were adept at doing all this, and the meeting was as meaningful as having gone there. The whole job was done in 5 hours. And saved the clients 10 lakhs of rupees. So, yes, good for them as well. So now this is going to be like, it's going to be the future. A large amount of capital will reduce. And at the same time, through technology, through emails, through drawings, we were able to put up quite a few projects in this time. Our staff did not have that level of hardware in the house. So I took the risk upon myself. Every day I would take 2-3 computers in my desktop, in my car, only one driving through the streets of Bombay, took the risk, and had the computers, delivered to everyone's doorstep. So we were open fine, and we put out projects. One open was the Conrad rooftop in Pune, a highly complicated, detailed project. It opened has become like Pune's most rocking F&B space now. The design change that happened while doing it was that it was essentially covered earlier. with only a small part of it being open, the client decided to make it half and half. Seeing the success of the Ritz-Carlton rooftop, which was in growing business. So these two rooftop places are like making a killing. Now this happened, this is one of the things that was learned through pandemic, which really made business sense for our clients.
So I personally feel that it has been a great experience in terms of we learned a lot about the technology. We learned probably what we missed is that physical touch of actual colors, because we don't see colors precisely correctly on the screen. We don't feel that texture which is there of the material, because we all do so much of ID work. Probably that is something what was missing. Otherwise, a lot of work could be done. We completed a couple of successful projects in IM6 with site visits, but we could do it because technology was there available at our doorstep and we could use it.
But at the same time, it's the efficiency. There is a big efficiency drop.
Yeah.
You cannot compare
what
like an IT company. We guys need to be under one roof, constant brainstorming. Without that, there is a big drop in the quality of the product.
Right.
You have to put in 100 times more effort to get the same thing done.
Right. So I think what we learned today is that pandemic has, what I learned from all what we discussed is that pandemic has not given a very big change in terms of design philosophy as far as ID is concerned in hospitality, but pandemic has given us a different direction to the hospitality, that is leisure market has done, and the experiential in terms of holistically architecture, interiors, everybody needs to create an experience for those leisure destinations, and you are absolutely correct, Justin, that even business locations should have that kind of experiences, and that relevance of local narratives and local influences is very, very essential in order to create those experiences.
Open the questions. Anyone with questions, we'll be giving away prizes from our platinum sponsor. So, there we go.
Good evening, I'm Joshita, Chief Engineer for Radisson. So, I have it's not a question actually, but I wanted to ask that from now onwards, the designer should impart nature's blueprint along with a new generation sustainable solution, along with AI. It should be mandatory, thoughtfully and intentionally should be a part of a hotel design.
Noted, I think so. It's a very great suggestion. Probably all my FP consultant and other colleagues who will be here, they all need to also understand, because this is a suggestion which documentation which would be required in future, and we should be able to generate that document for you.
Because I feel this will also be a great initiative in terms of cost savings, because this is the main crux at this time which hospitality industry is dealing, that cost saving measures are more important, because utility plays a vital role in terms of controlling the cost of a hotel.
So I agree with you that this is an ongoing process. We always learn and we keep on improvising and keep on documenting those things. So that is something which most of the project does it. Anybody else?
Hi, Hussaini. There are many of my friends working in IT engineering. They are still working from home. Okay. Is India designing or the architecture is a virtual professional or the physical present professional as of right now? Because many of the clients we do a meeting virtually, but at last it comes, please come to site and then only we can conclude it. It is so?
It cannot be a fully virtual thing. At the end of the day, you have to go to site and build. The entire process cannot happen just on advice on phone and video calls. So you have to go and see the finishing of the product, the quality of construction. You have to try and test it out. Even clients are not very impressed having only Zoom calls to present the designs to them. It works for certain professions, but not for us.
I think in the long run, it is we need to be there physically, just like in conferences, we're not here physically. So it can start off with a presentation online to a new client, or it can start off with a discussion. But eventually, you either have to go to see the site, to see the location. If you're starting off from an architectural point of view, if it's a renovation, you have to go and see the existing hotel in the area you need to renovate. So there's a lot of things which we actually have to be there physically for. And like I said, my project in Trichy, which we still managed a lot of things for a year online and through the video phone because that was the need of the hour. But the moment the flights were open, the moment we could travel, we got a call to literally fly down the next week. So you have to be there eventually.
Hi, I'm Paul Majumdar this side, and it was very interesting to hear all of you share all your views and note. So, but one of the biggest challenges which operations face, and I've been in operations a larger part of my career, is that limiting the access of staff to a room. And the biggest challenge I think which hotel operations face is maintaining the product. And all of your designers also would want that the guest should experience the product what you made. But maintenance always becomes a very, very big challenge. And even today, like I'm staying in this hotel, they actually put a sticker on the door saying that this room has been sanitized for your use, which used to earlier be only on WCs, and you always wondered when to throw that paper away and wondered it was a waste. So, how much of the pandemic brought some changes in the maintenance of use of surfaces which you put inside a room? I'm only talking about a guest room here. Because yes, from a designer perspective, you like all that happen, and bringing nature into a room is nice, and the colors. But what about changes in surfaces? Because do you think there have been some changes or learnings in how the beautiful hotels you create can actually be maintained by the ops team? And has that changed in terms of access of people into the guest room space or in the guest space when he's living with you in the hotel?
There has been simplification. Even in the big luxury brands, overall there has been an idea of, in terms of design, of simplifying things, simplifying surfaces, not having too many crevices and joints which are easily cleaned. Because as I mentioned, housekeeping is a very big thing now, and especially if you enter a hotel room and you do not feel that does not feel hygienic because it has a big rug, it has a throw, it has lots of fabric surfaces, textures that can't be cleaned easily. People do get worried. So somewhere down the line, if we are sensitive to this and we put all this in our design, by which the housekeeping can happen also quick and fast and efficiently without spoiling the surface. Now, earlier using laminates was considered to be a low-end solution. It's becoming more and more common even in high-end projects. And after having this bending or edge bending stuff happening, it's very easy to clean. And the guest feels good about it, that you have taken pain to use this kind of a surface, vis-a-vis the earlier, veneers with a polish on that. So it is appreciated. So it is slowly crept into all our new projects.
I've had a recent experience where we're designing a upscale project in Goa, and we were trying to do everything very earthy and natural. So we were using a lot of linens in our rooms. Of course, with linen, the challenge is housekeeping and laundering eventually. The client was very clear that they took the cushions and they dumped them in their laundry. They said, they don't look as fresh and new as they would look in polyester. And now we've had to go ahead and change our fabrics. These days, polyesters can mimic the look of linen very well. So we've had to go ahead and do that. So it's a very relevant point, and it is being implemented. People are very conscious of it.
Just to also add to that, while materials always have to be maintenance friendly. I like to call them maintenance friendly because nothing can be maintenance free. Everything has to be cleaned and maintained, especially in today's time with the sanitization. But I think going forward from a planning point of view, and if it's a location which probably you have a larger or in a leisure resort, or in a city which you have a mix of resort and business travels, maybe you don't need a work desk. You need a table which doubles up as a coffee / dining table / work desk. In the Ibis in McCrawley, there's actually no desk. It's a nice lounge chair, and you can, today most people anyway sit on the bed with their iPad or their phone. So I think going forward, from a planning point of view, like we said earlier, less is more is actually should be coming back. I mean, this famous quote is actually as old as maybe a decade, but I think it should come back now with the fact that you need things in the room from an operational point of view, because guest usage and guest comfort is absolutely paramount. But is it really required on a percentage level? So if we can maybe do away with some things, so then it is easier for housekeeping to maintain, because there are just less services to maintain. That could be a way going forward.
One thing that you will definitely see happening now is that the use of carpets is going to be greatly reduced. You will see that, like earlier corridors, all hotel corridors had carpets. The reason they would put carpets is because of sound. People walking or trolley bag moving for disturbing the guests. But more and more brands are okay with the fact that even if someone gets disturbed, concentrate on the door design. But you have a hard corridor, and carpets inside rooms are going to become obsolete. If it's a mid-market hotel, they'll perhaps put wood finished ceramic tiles or something. It's very easy to wash and clean. You can all sorts of solvents works on it without damaging anything. So these things are becoming extremely popular.
We have the last question, and then
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Romel Moses. We help the brands actually build hotels, building areas for hotels. And on all the panels before, I was hearing that it's how expensive it is getting to build hotels. And I was like, hey, I'm sitting right here. I built my first hotel with Sir Kannam Pillai. I did a 30-room property with him. Even then, I was wearing the same outfit. Today, I'm doing the best of brands for most of the brands here, the most fanciest brands, and I'm still wearing the same outfit. Okay, so now my point here is that today we are working with a lot of international designers as well, and everybody says everything now is about collaborations. Because there is a lot of R&D that's happening at my end as well, in my workshops. How can we get costs down? How can we speed up things? How can we make things faster? How can we templatize things? And I completely agree with Bobby Mukherjee sir, where he said that everything is going back to going local. Okay, the best of international designers have said now design is about emotions. Everything is about emotions. So international designers are going out and saying, here I want to collaborate with Garnet in India. Okay, they are going forward to say that, because they are telling the brand that, listen, you have a price constraint. I'm going to collaborate with these guys. Okay, I will give it to you in your price, at your speed. And which is amazing, which is happening. And today we can collaborate with the MEP guys, the building guy, the architect, the interior designer, to give the client the best order. The question is that the international designers are collaborating. Can we see that happening here with local designers as well? Is it possible to collaborate? Are people open to that ideas? Is the question.
The local designers would collaborate with who? We are locals from here.
But we're all already collaborating.
I think it was more of a marketing.
Can I answer this? I think so. Robin, we all are collaborating at some point. If I am working with architect Anil Sharma or Bobby, where somebody is doing architecture, I am doing ID, where I do architecture, somebody else is doing, we are collaborating. We are trying to collaborate with a tier 2 architect or a designer, try to give them concept and make them understand hospitality, make them learn. So we are trying to share a lot of database. And collaborative in terms of design and build is something where this practice is here to grow in India. So if you meant by design and build, Probably that is something which is not happening here in India. It will take a little while, but probably it will happen very soon where people will come and say that boss, you give us a design and build solution.
So you have to also tell us which was the best question, so we can give them a prize. Paul, please come and collect your prize, which was sponsored by our platinum sponsor, Eternia.